Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode with your girl Audrey Codner from ACG Math Tutoring. Hopefully you guys are doing well tonight. It is balmy here. Temps, of course, the temps are going to be rising tomorrow. Finish mowing my lawn. I'm exhausted. Here we are. But what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be looking at complex numbers. So if you ever had a teacher that says, hey you cannot have a negative underneath a radical. And you're like, well, why? And what do I do? And well, because if you pull out that negative, and it's called a -1, the square root of -1 is I. Or you probably have another teacher that says, hey, you can't use I as a variable because I is a number. And you're like, say what? So I'm going to be here to kind of break a lot of these things down, show you how a lot of the stuff that you've been doing before, especially when you're adding, subtracting, multiplying, maybe even dividing exponents, how that, and also radicals, how that can kind of tie in with the whole complex numbers. As you guys are coming in, hello, Jess, how are you? Oh, thank you for the little kitten. I appreciate it. Just come on in and tap away. Hello, Nike. Hello, Mark. Welcome in there. Is that Tonio? Okay, welcome on in. So, right now, let's see how things go. So go ahead and just come on in, tap right away if we can. Because once I get to like 1K, I will get started. So and just come on in, tap right away if we can. Because once I get to like 1K, I will get started. So if you're wondering if you are in the right spot, if you are taking your GED, your ASVAB, ACCUPLACER, okay, or maybe you are currently in a college algebra class and you're getting ready for your finals, because I know a lot of you guys have your finals next week, then this is the live for you. If you are just trying to, prepare yourself for possibly next year, you just want to get a small snippet of what is complex numbers, you are in the right spot. Now, if you're a person that's always been fearful of math and you're just like, you know what? I know my kids are going to need my help. Tutoring is just not in the cards. Then you're in the right spot, okay? But if you're a type of person that you're like, hey, I know math, I just know how to just snap and get on through and hurry up type of person, this is not the platform for you, okay? What I do, I just basically like to empower people to show them that, yes, you can do math. I know there's a lot of people that's going to come on here like, oh, I'm going through, I'm having flashbacks, PTSD. And I'm like, look, I get it. And the reason probably was your first experience or exposure to math was not kind. You probably had a teacher that knew the math but just didn't know how to break it down to you. Or because there's like 40 plus kids in the classroom, the teacher was just trying to do the best that he or she can do. And for some reason, you were the one that kind of fell on the wayside. Okay? You have to sacrifice one to save many sometimes. So if that sounds anything like you guys, come on in. All right. No, Big Al, you're right on time. Yes, thank you, Jess. I appreciate it. Nicholson, thank you. We'll be here. All right. So looking at complex numbers, and let's see on after you do I to the 4th power, right? So I is the square root of -1. Anytime you have a negative underneath a square root, okay, I got to emphasize that. Anytime you have a negative underneath a square root, okay, I got to emphasize that. Anytime you have a negative underneath a square root, you want to factor out that square root of -1, okay? Now, you can have a negative underneath a cube root. You cannot have a negative underneath a square root. And since a lot of our classes really deals with the squares and the cubes, That's where we're going to focus in on. Okay, there are definitely some other types of roots, but obviously if it is a positive, an even root, you don't want to have a negative in there. Okay, so no square roots, no negatives underneath a square root. But if I squared that square root of -1, that means squares and square roots are opposites of each other. So they will cancel each other out and leave behind the -1. That's why I squared is equal to -1. If you square the square root of -1, the square and the square roots will cancel each other, which will leave me with the -1. Now, if I have I cubed, that means I'm taking the negative of I. And we all said that the I is the square root of -1. And then I to the 4th power is the same as me saying I'm going to square -1. So -1 times -1, that gives me a +1. And then you're probably asking, I'm like, all right, so what's I to the 5th? Well, I to the 5th takes us right back to the square root of -1. So as long as you understand these 4 and you can group them. So say if I had, if I wanted to break down I to the 6th power, and I want to know what that's going to equal. So one of the things I can do, let me wrap this over here, give myself some room. So one of the things I can do is, let me wrap this over here, give myself some room. So one of the things I can do is I'm like, all right, I to the 6th power, that's the same as saying I being multiplied to itself 6 times. Okay. And here's the best thing. I could say, okay, the square root of -1, the square root of -1, the square root of -1, the square root of -1. That's too much, okay? Let's be classic. So if I know what I to the 4th power is, which is these 4, now I'm looking at I to the 5th. And like I said, I to the 5th takes us right back to I. And then you have I to the 6th, which will be the equivalent to I squared. So that means I to the 6th power, if I group them by 4s, you don't have to write it out this way, but I want you to see where it's coming from. So if I group these 4s, that's going to give me 1. And then I have 2 i's left over, which is the equivalent of I squared. So 1 times I squared is just going to give me I squared. And I squared is equal to -1. So if you ever see a problem, let's say I to the 48th. Okay, so I to the 48th power. Now, am I going to write out 48 i's? Oh, you are sadly mistaken. So I want to know how many groups of 4s can fit into 48. So only way to tell that is just go 48 divided by 4. And you're probably saying, well, why are you using 4? Because I can know that I to the 4th power is going to give me 1. And we know anything times 1 is going to be itself. This will be easy for me to kind of break it down. So here we go. And if we take a look, I know that I can get 12 groups of 4 to go into 48. Okay, I'll write it out like this. Okay, so I know I got 12 groups of 4s that can go into 48. So if I think about it, let me break down that 12 into my 4s. And how many of those can I get? So that means I can have I to the 4th power. And then I have I to the 4th power again. 4 plus 4 gives me 8. I know a lot of people like to do it this way. Some people like to kind of cut straight to it. You say, all right, I'm going to have 3 groups of 4s, right? Here's my 3 groups of 4s. So this is going to give me a 1. 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 So then we can think of it this way. We got 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which all of them is going to give me an answer of 1. Okay, it's going to give me an answer of 1. Oh, why is my computer going crazy? All right. I can't see either. What is going on? There we go. I don't know. TikTok has just been kind of weird. All right, so I'll repeat that. Because I don't know, all of a sudden. Okay, it's been glitching the whole time. I don't know. All right, so let's try it again. Can you guys see me now? Yes? Awesome. All right, so let's try it again. So I to the 48th. I asked myself, how many groups of 4s can I get to 48? And there is 12, right? So I really don't need this because I know I to the 4th, that's going to be equivalent to 1. Okay? Now, I have to ask myself, let me break down this 12. How many groups of 4s gives me close to 12? It will be 3, because 4 times 3 gives me 12. But I just wanted to write it out like this. So now I can take a look. I have I to the 4th power, that's where this one comes from. I to the 4th power, that's how that one comes from. And I to the 4th power, that's how that one comes from. So now you can multiply all the ones. Have fun, because guess what it's going to give you? It's going to give you 1. So that means I to the 48th power is equivalent to 1. So instead of you writing out 48 I's, which is insane, no, okay, try to group them in 4s, okay? If it gives you a decimal, we're going to try to round about. Okay, what is that whole number? How many of those whole numbers are there? Okay. All right, am I still glitching? I'm wondering why. Oh, I see why. Because someone put a rude comment on there and TikTok is ready to shut me down. That's why. Okay, let's see what we got here. Yeah, because it's probably telling me that I have to stop. Okay. Am I still lagging for you guys? Okay. No? No? Okay. Thank you, JB. No, no, nope. Okay. All right. Okay. So, formulas is basically this. We have our I, which is the square root of -1. So if you ever had a teacher that says you have to factor out the negative out of a square root, this is why. Okay. Now, cube root, yeah, definitely, all day. It can have a negative in there. But square roots, it cannot. But if I squared the square root of negative 1, I'm going to get, remember, squares and square roots are inverses of each other. They cancel each other out. That's where this negative 1 is coming from. Okay? So now, if I cube my i's, I'm going to have a negative I. And remember, I is the square root of negative 1. But in order for me to get I to the 4th power, I have to square the negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 gives me a positive 1. Okay? I think we should be caught up by now. Are we good, Big Al? Okay. I know. Well, thank you, user. I tried. Hey, Antonia. How are you? Money maker. Okay, not a problem. All right, sorry for the glitchy, but you know, someone wanted to be a little rude. Well, I don't even think it's rude. It's like I could be very blunt with my answer, but I think TikTok will definitely shut me down. My mama raised me right. So, if we come across, let's say the square root of negative 49. Okay, I'm going to go through as many different ways as possible. So, when we factor, and I think a lot of you guys like that prime factorization. Remember that factor tree back in the day? So, the first thing I want to do is I always want to pull out that negative. So, if I pull out the negative 1, then what remains is the square root of 49. Right? So now, this square root of negative 1, remember, that's equivalent to I. And then we have the square root of 49, which is a perfect square root, which gives me 7. And we are multiplying these two together. So when you multiply, you have your 7i. Okay? That's it. That's it. Now, go with the life. You're like, I wish, like, that was it. That's the whole meaning of life. There you go. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Hey, Lynette, how are you? So, but when we add and subtract, okay, adding and subtracting is very similar to when we're dealing with exponents, okay? So let me show you. Let me show you something. All right. So if we have, let's say, the square root of negative 50 minus the square root of negative 8. Okay, let's do a little work early. So we have the square root of negative 50 minus the square root of negative 8. Let's break it down. Okay, let's break it on down. So, as I always say, do one side, cover up the other side so we can focus. So we know with the square root of negative 50, the first thing I need to do is get rid of, actually it might even be the second thing. It makes it a lot easier. I'm going to pull out my 50 and then the negative 1. There's a reason. There is a reason. There's a method to this madness. But this square root of 50 can be broken down. What would be the best? Remember, it's through multiplication. What two radicals multiply together? One being perfect, the other one being prime. All right. Okay, now 49. Okay, we got 25 and 2. Okay, negative 49 times negative 1 gives me a positive 49. So we got 2 and 25. We got 25 and 2 La Thriftista. Oh, that's cute. It says 25 and 2. There you go, 25 and 2. There you go, Aspen. JB, 25 and 2. Jess, 22 and 25. Okay, hello, my name is L. Hi. 5 and 10. But here's the thing. Neither one of them is perfect. 5 is a prime number, but we want to get that perfect prime combination so we don't have to break down again. So Big Al 25 and 2, Amber 25 and 2. Awesome. So if I have my 25 here and I have my 2 here, square root of 25, that comes on down, that gives me a 5. Square root of 2, that's prime. So I can't break it down. But don't forget, we still have the square root of -1. That's my I. But the I is no longer underneath a radical. So it goes with our 5. The reason why I don't want to put the I after the square root is because all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, I got to break this down one more time. That's how our brain thinks. So if you think everything that's no longer under the radical, you're going to combine them through multiplication. Everything that's under the radical, you're going to combine them through multiplication, but it will stay under the radical. So the square root of -50 is 5i times the square root of 2. But that's one side. Now we have to do the other side. This minus sign that we see that's in between the two radicals, bring that all the way down. Okay. Now we got to break down the square root of -8. So first off, I got my 2 radicals. One of them has a +8. The other one, a -1. Square root of 8 can be broken down into what? Okay, so La Thrifta saying 2 and 4, Big Al 2 and 4, Jess 2 and 4, Pog 2 and 4, Kaya 2 and 4. 4 and 2. Got into the thing. Hey, bundles, 4 and 2. User saying 2 and 4. Good. So I'm going to put my perfect in front. And then I put my prime behind. So now the square root of 4, that gives me 2. This I comes with the 2. And then we're going to bring down the square root of 2. Because the square root of 2 is prime. If I can't break it down, I'm bringing it down. Okay? Good, Kaya. All right. So now, oops, got to bring it down even further. So we got 2i, square root of 2. So now, again, I'm going to cover. It helps me to focus. Okay, it helps me to focus my attention. Now, can I combine these two? Is it possible? I'm seeing a couple answers that's saying 3i square root of 2. Can I combine them? Yes or no? Okay, hey David, how are you? Bring down the house with math. Awesome, nice. I like that. Okay, yes, okay. So JB saying yes, Big Al saying yes, Amber saying yes. Okay, bundles, don't know. Thank you for your honesty. Appreciate that. Okay. Okay, Jess is saying yes. Okay. Let me show you why. Okay, Sharon, you don't know? Thank you for your honesty. All right, so let's take a look. If you notice, the radicals are exactly the same. okay? The radicals as well as the i's. They're exactly the same for both of them. So when they have like terms, this one has an I square root of 2, this one has an I square root of 2. So since they have like terms, we can combine that 5 and minus 2. So 5 minus 2, that will give us our 3. And you bring down the I square root of 2. So this is not being squared, you are subtracting. The only time you're dealing with squaring is when you're multiplying. All right? Okay. All right, so Kevin, this is it. This is it. No more. Right here. Boom. Okay? So since they have the same I square root of 2. Now, if this was I square root of 2 and this one was I square root of 3, this expression up here will be your final answer. In order for you to combine with addition and subtraction, they have to be the same radicals. Okay? Is it imaginary boo, not an X? Yes. Yeah, the imaginary boo, not an X. Yes. Yeah, the dream one. I can't. Oh my goodness. All right, so let's try another one. I'm going to put it down here. It's going to be a little bit longer. So I'm going to shrink in a bit. Okay. Thank you so much for the taps. I greatly appreciate it. No, you can't cancel them out. All you can do is just rewrite it into one and then combine your coefficients. All right. So let's take a gander here. So so we have the square root of negative 48. So we already talked about that. Plus the square root of negative 12 minus, she's still writing. Yes, I am. Okay. So here's the next example. Breathe. Relax. Okay. Alright. Taki. Well, that's all right, Taki. You can always go back. Depending where you at, you can always go back. The only one that's stopping you is you, my love. Okay, you can do it. Okay, you're saying 6/12? Oh, okay, 6 and 12. Oh, okay, 6 and 12. For the negative 48. Let's try to get that perfect prime combination. All right. So, don't look at the whole entire thing. Okay, we always want to just basically go and focus on one at a time. All right. So we have the square root of negative 48. So we're looking for that perfect prime combination. So if you have one of my handy dandy notebooks, we can actually flip to where 48 is. All right. So if we take a look, here's 48. So the factors of 48 is 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, and 6 and 8. But which one would be a perfect prime combination? Luckily, I have it what's in red. Okay, so you have your 16 and 3. You can do 4 and 12 if you do 4 and 12, you're still going to have to break down to 12. It's an extra step. Guys, I'm lazy. So, so I'll do like the 3 and 16. But the first thing that I'm going to have to do is, 1, get rid of that I. Get rid of that negative that's underneath this square root. So, if I may, I'm going to go here. I got my 48. I'm going to go here. I got my -1. And we all know that the square root of -1 is I. So now the square root of 48, we already mentioned 2 of those. That will be 16 and 3. Okay. Square root of 16, that's one of those perfect square roots, which gives me a whole number of 4. The 4 is not under a radical. Let it go. Okay? It's like a jilted lover. You want the relationship. You finally got your freedom. Why are you going back? You love torture? Stop. Okay? Start loving yourself. So now we got the square root of 3. Square root of 3 is prime. So I can't do anything. The only products I can get for 3 is 1 and 3. So if I can't break it down, I'm going to bring it down. And then don't forget your I. And your I is going right next to that 4. Okay. So now we're going to focus on the 12. I don't know if I have another sheet of paper. Let's see. I should get like blinders like my friend Lynette does on hers. Because it'll just give you a nice little window to focus on. So, this plus sign is coming on down. Wow! That's all right. This is why I'm Audrey Codner. There's no one else like me. And I'm not going to let a little bit of wind hold me back. Here we go. Boom. And boom. All right. So now we have the square root of -12. I know, I got to pop myself up sometimes. So we need to factor out my 12, factor out that -1. So now the square root of 12, that gives you 4 and 3. And that square root of -1, there's your I. Okay, I like to use a cursive I. So square root of 4, that's perfect. So that gives me a 2. Square root of 3, that's prime. So this is the perfect prime combination. But we don't want to stick our I over here. Life lesson, ready? Okay. So you want to have your 2I and then bring down the square root of 3. Okay. All right. Good. So we got our 4s and 3s. I love that. Then Kai has my 2I square root of 3. Yes. Now, the last one, we're going to stick this over here. Okay, bringing down our minus sign. So now we have the square root of 9. So now we have the square root of -27. So Lothritanista, it's going to come. It's going to happen. So we're breaking down the 27 and the -1. And the breakdown of 27, she's saying it's 9 and 3. And I agree. 9 is perfect. 3 is prime. Square root of 9, that gives me 3. Then I bring down the square root of 3, but do not forget about the I. See how it looks weird out here? Okay, see how it looks all kinds of weird? So now, we're going to just finish it out. So we got 3i square root of 3. All right. Okay. All right. So now, let's clean this up. So we have our 4i square root of 3, okay, plus our 2i square root of 3 minus our 3i square root of 3. So they all have what in common? Okay. So I'm seeing that 3i square root of 3, there's like terms, exactly. And what those like terms are is my I square root of 3. Okay, so that I square root of 3 is going to stay right where it is. But what we need to do is combine the coefficients. So 4 plus 2, that gives me 6. And 6 minus 3 gives me 3. So my answer, I got 3i square root of 3. Okay? And here's my thing, guys. Eventually, a lot of this stuff can be summed up once you feel confident in it, and that's up to you when you feel confident in it. So you can probably like say, all right, once I see the breakdown of 48, after a while you'll get to know the breakdown of 12, square root of 12, because they use square root of 12 a lot in math. And the same for the square root of 27. So after you know what your factors are, and then you get your eyes in the right spots, there's going to be a couple slots that you don't have to do, because after a while you're so used to just doing it. Okay, but I'd like to show you guys the steps so you can break it down step by step. All right, good. Nice. All right, so that was a combination. This last one was a combination of adding and subtracting. Okay, what we were doing before, we did a little bit of subtraction. Same thing could happen for addition. Okay. But we have to break it down so we can get like terms. All right. So now, all right, thank you for the taps, guys. Let's see if we can. There's like 172 of us. And, oh, look at that number. That'll be 172.3. So if we can we get it to 20? Can we do just a quick math tap so we can get to 20? Right. Trust me, there are times I used to shake because I was so engraved of doing math in pencil. But the reason why I do math in pen is because it shows up so much better. It shows up so much better. That's the only reason. Yeah, I'm not like, yeah, I'm an expert. I can do anything in pen. Look at me. I can do like the Times Square, crossword puzzle. I do that in pen too. No, I'm not that bougie. It's not that serious for me. Yeah. All right, good. Good. All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, so we did adding, we did subtracting. Now let's take a little gander of multiplication. So, there we go. So we have square root of 18, negative 18, sorry, times the square root of negative 3. All right. Now, with multiplication, I know for sure a lot of people are going to be like, yes, we can just put the negative 18 times the negative 3 together and they'll make it a positive, and then we'll figure out like what is like positive, was that 54, and let's see if I can break it on down and all that stuff. Stop. Like I keep saying, we want to always break down before we combine. Okay? Simplify before you multiply. So the reason why I'm saying that, because if I cover up that square root of negative 3, if we want to break down the square root of negative 18, first off, we get our 18, and we have to pull that negative 1. Now, square root of 18 can be broken down into two radicals. Good. We got some 9 and 2, 9 and 2, 2 and 9. No, 3 and 6. But here's the thing. You can do 3 and 6. I'm going to show you as soon as I find some paper. I don't want to write on this thing yet. Some paper. I don't want to write on this thing yet. So, we can do the square root of 6 and the square root of 3 for our square root of 18. It's possible. But here's the thing. That means I got to break down that square root of 6. So that's 2 square root of 3. And I'm going to multiply that by the square root of 3 that we're going to bring down. But here's the thing. This is what you can do. If you notice, you have two radicals with the same radicand, you can multiply those two. So square root of 3 times square root of 3 gives me a square root of 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. So here's another shortcut. If you have the same radicals with the same radicand, the answer is going to be what's underneath the radicand. The answer is basically going to be the radicand, which didn't we get 3? And then the square root of 2 is going to be brought down, but we don't want square roots in the front. They got to get in the back. So that means we have 3 square root of 2. Okay. So you see how you have all of this work to do? Whereas if I go straight to the 9 and the 2, square root of 9 will give me 3. The square root of negative 1, that will give me I. And then the square root of 2 just comes on down. Okay? So we want to simplify before we multiply. And I'm going to show you. Because remember, in the beginning I said if we just go ahead and just multiply those two, we will get a positive 54. Okay? So now for the next one, we have to factor out that negative 1. Okay? Square root of negative 3, that's prime. Can't be broken down. If I can't break it down, I'm bringing it down. But the square root of negative 1, that's I. And we always put the I in front. Okay. So now, here, I could multiply my 3 and I times I. I can go 3I squared, because that's what I times I is. But then, our other radicals, we're so used to seeing the same one, and we just bring it on down. But this is multiplication. When you have multiplication, you're actually multiplying the radicands together and keep it in its same radical. So when you're multiplying radicals with radicals, whole numbers with whole numbers. Okay? But we have this I squared. I squared. What does I squared? What is it equivalent to? I squared. Yes, Kaya. Good, Big Zo. Very close. La Thrifta. Blah. Okay, Nike, good. Okay, Jess, good. Never, not negative 12. JB, negative 1. Amber, negative 1. User, negative 1. There we go. So, not negative 1 square root, just negative 1. I squared is equivalent to negative 1. So, we, in fact, have for our leading, our coefficient for this radical, it's going to be a negative 3 square root of 6. Okay. So you want to break down, and I did a lot of extra steps. I'm going to be truthful. I did a lot of steps, but you got to break down before you can get to your next level. Okay. So you notice you got nothing near a square root of 54. Yes. Okay. All right, let's do another one. Big Al, what's your question? Well, hello everyone coming on in. What is I equal? The square root of negative 1. So let me slide this over for you. There we go. Okay. So we have I is the square root of negative 1. I squared is equal to negative 1. I cubed is equal to negative square root of negative 1. So it's basically negative I. And then I to the fourth. And then I to the fourth is 1. And then, of course, when you try to go I to the fifth, it goes back to this original pattern. Okay. You remember the formula? Oh, okay. I saw the question marks. I was like, are you all right? No. So, let's get started. It goes right back to the square root of negative 1. Association, that's you. For Algebra 2. College Algebra and Algebra 2. Alright. So let's try square root of negative 2 times 3 minus square root of negative 80. Zoom just a little bit. I know I keep zooming to make sure that you guys are getting the right experience. Not so much by Zooming, but just the right experience. Hey, Miss Educate. How are you? It's been a minute. Are you on vacation? Okay. Well, if anything, just observe. We're going to take it step by step. Starting next week? Wow. I believe it. Hopefully you had fun. Yeah, because my Alaska kids are starting, not next week, but like the week after. So, yep, I have to get ready to get back to my traditional times. So my time frames are going to be changing. I just have to figure out when I can. So I would like to be able to keep coming live on TikTok. But, I mean, I have to go back to my kiddos. Okay, cool. Oh, you did? Well, that's cool. Can I help you with the limits? I'm limits to a certain degree, but that's really not me. It's really not me. All right. Let's see. The reason why I pause is not so much like, oh, I'm trying to get all the likes. No, the reason why I'm pausing is just give people time if they want to try it out for themselves. So, just try some things out. Your AP Calculus summer packet. So if anything, reach out to my friend Robert that's on here. What is he? What is his name? Well, sometimes it's Main Street Tutoring. You'll see he'll pop in. He might even pop in a little bit later. So we'll see. But if anything, you could say Robert, the AP math guy. I think that was his handle. So you can also check with him. And I think he went live today at 3, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, good, Callie. I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, you guys. You're so sweet. All right. So let's... All this sweetness is going to make me sour. No, I'm just kidding. And then distribute. Yep, you can do that. Okay. Because we all have to handle that negative. So if I look at this, we're going to have a -2. So I know if I factor this out, I'm going to factor out that square root of -1, which is equivalent to I. And then we're going to have the square root of 2. Because 2 is a prime number. Believe it or not. 2 is a prime number. Okay? So if we translate that, then we'll have our times 3 minus, and we're going to break down the square root of 8. Now, we broke down the square root of 8 already. I think we did. Felt like we did. We did. Here we go. All right. So we already broke down the square root of -8, which we factored out a -1. So we have 8 that's positive. Then we broke down 8 to 4 and 2, which gave us our 2i square root of 2. Now, we can take this information, 2i square root of 2, and we can use that to replace my square root of -8. So this will give us okay. And for those that weren't here, let me put off to the side here. So if I have the square root of -8 and I wanted to break it down into 2 radicals, first off, I need to factor out the negative. So that's why we have the square root of -1 here and an 8 as its result. But the 8 is not perfect. It actually can be broken down. And what we do to break it down, we used 4 and 2. Square root of 4, that's perfect. That gives me 2. Square root of -1, that's equivalent to saying I. And then we break down the 2. Okay, so that's where this came from. So now that it's factored, it's going to make it a lot easier to do when I distribute. Okay, I know for sure there's going to be someone that says, oh, square root of 2 times the square root of -2 times the square root of -18, and negative times a negative will give me a positive. Beautiful. Positive 16, the square root of positive 16 is 4. Amazing. But we need to factor out, we need to respect the negatives underneath those radicals. So now, multiply whole number with whole number, radical with radical. So this is going to give us 3i, okay, with the square root of 2. Okay. Sorry, I thought someone was trying to call. Okay, so now we want to multiply coefficient with coefficient, radical with radical. So we bring down our minus sign, we bring down the 2. Then we have the I squared. I know as you get used to this, you're going to skip this step. I know for a fact, but I just want to show you all the steps before everything goes haywire. So now, square root of 2 times square root of 2, that can give us a square root of 4. But if you remember, if you have 2 radicands with the same radical, your answer is going to be the radicand itself. All right? Because that's what's going to happen here. This square root of 4 is going to turn to a 2. So now you got 2 times I squared times 2. We can clean that up because the this left-hand side of the subtraction sign is not so crazy. So I squared, that is going to give me -1. So that means this negative times a negative will give me a positive. And then 2 times 2, that will give me 4. Okay, this is an I. I know it looks like a 6, but it's an I. Okay, I have to get back to my cursives. It's been a minute. Okay, so that I squared is equivalent to -1. So you have 2 times 2, which gives me 4, and now I'll make it a -4. But with this -1, it'll make it a positive. And then we're going to bring down the rest. So 3i square root of 2. That's my answer. Oh, it's not. Hold on. Because I forgot I have to put it in. It's been a minute. I have to put it in that format, whereas the i's will go to the back. So it's really going to be 4 plus 3i square root of 2. That's my final. Because anytime you put your answers together, you will see it has to be in this format. Teachers will definitely take points off. I can tell you right here now. Okay, if it's not in that format. All right. Fabulous. Questions. Hey guys, good. How are you? Hello, Justin Z. Okay, Miss G, good job. Never, good job. Yeah, it does. It does. Okay, so Daniel, so 2i square root 4. Okay, I got you now. All right. Which makes it 4 since root 4 is 2. Yes. Okay. Then you multiplied it. Yes. And then I squared is equivalent to negative 1. So since this 2 was a negative 2, a negative times a negative gives me a positive 2. And then positive 2 plus 2 will give us 4. Okay. All right. Fabulous. Okay. Ooh, here we go. Puzzle time. Okay. All right, everyone. So that's what I got for tonight. Okay, that's what I have for tonight. So we have our complex numbers. Just going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, we talked about I a little bit. We're probably going to do a little bit more, especially with the foiling tomorrow night. I might be coming on, but I know I'll definitely be here at 1 p.m. tomorrow because it's Friday. All right, it's Friday. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be here Friday night, but I know I'll be here at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I can't remember what we're going to be doing, but we're going to be doing some kind of math. All right. So again, if you would like to purchase my ultimate notebook right here, where you can work on 100 pages of keeping your notes together, or nice, neat, organized, everything together, you can definitely go here for purchasing. If you are currently taking a class and you need a tutor, go here for purchasing. If you would like to have a course and be able to break those concepts down so you can take your tests with confidence and accuracy, go here. All right, if you want the books, you can either go here or you can go here. Another thing is, give me some time to download, because you can go here to get most of my downloads. Let me unzoom a little bit, or a lot, so you can see it. If you have any of my downloads since like February 2nd, you can go here, type this or type this. And I would love for you to do this, this, and this, so you can make sure you get all the notifications. So this, starting on Sunday, is going to be my new live. I'm going to try it out for a little bit and like see how really busy I get, especially for the month of September. So we're looking at Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Fridays at 1 p.m., and Saturdays, Sundays, I'm looking at either 9 or 7. I can't decide. It all depends on this one person, if they're going to show up or they're not going to show up. If they're going to cancel, I'm going to come on at 7. If they don't cancel, I'm going to go on at 9. All right? So if you do, because we already do, we have 2 days left for the mock practice test. So if you're taking college algebra and you would like to know how you're actually doing, what exactly do you need to focus in on? Okay, I'm doing a mock practice test, which is 35 questions, 59 minutes you do the test, and then afterwards I break down the math concepts, math answers to those questions. Yeah, it's time for me to go to bed because I am way tongue-tied. All right. So 1, thank you. Okay. Can I friend you? Now, here's the thing about friending. If I look at your profile and you have like, oh, we're just battling each other, or if it has nothing to do with academics, I do not follow you. I want my, algorithm to really hit with education. I know I have some fun things in here, but that was before I really started getting serious with my teaching and instruction. Okay? Is there a book for college algebra? Yes, there is. Just have to put the finishing touches on it because I did decide to split it up. And I have one for pre-algebra. I'm waiting for the approval from the big A. And then I have one for Algebra 2 and pre-calculus. But a lot of that stuff can be used for college algebra. Okay. All right. Well, since you're begging this hard, it makes me want to say no. All right, the factoring chart is in the back. It's really helpful. Yes, thank you, Amber. Yes, a lot of my current and some of my former clients really love the factor chart because it really does break things down quite nicely. Okay. All right. So I'm getting loopy. I will see you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. if you are here. And I think that's about it. Okay. If anything, hold on. Let me put the finishing touches for the updated one because I do have a second edition coming out. Okay. All right. Okay, everyone. Well, have an amazing evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.